What up, everybody? It's your boy, super duper videographer Ryan Gordon, bringing you the very second episode of the Alley-Oop Podcast, the show highlighting current and former players using basketball as a lob to do bigger and better things. And this week, we're here at University of Maryland on this beautiful court with my good friend, Greg Brown.
What's going on, everybody? Appreciate you having me.
What's good, man? So for those of you who don't know, Greg is currently a pro player looking for a place to go right now?
Yeah. I played the past 2 years in Brazil, and now it's a little bit of a waiting game, kind of trying to figure out what contract will be best for me for my third year. So
that makes sense. All right, so let's talk about history. What's your basketball resume from born to now?
I played for JPYO when I was
Okay, yeah, talk about it all. I want to hear it all.
So I went to like Arundel Middle School, and I was growing up playing in that environment. And then I got looked at by one of the Spalding coaches. I think he was an assistant coach at the time. So I ended up going over to Spalding. I was on the varsity team my first year. Didn't play like at all. I think I played probably like a couple games. You know what I mean?
What was it? Just your age? You're new or like?
No, yeah, I was a freshman on varsity, so that was a big deal coming in. Like, oh, I made the varsity team. That was what I was striving to do. And played in a few games. Just probably wasn't ready. You know what I mean? And then sophomore year, I started to get in the game, get in the flow of things. And then by senior year, I averaged 18 at Spalding. I ended up first team All BCL, which is Baltimore Catholic League, and then first team All Metro. Went to college, got a scholarship by St. Francis University in Pennsylvania. Went there, started 3.5 years there. My first year was up and down. I was a defensive player. I got on the court to play defense and lead the team offensively as far as just being a point guard, setting people up, moving the ball, and talking, you know what I mean? So that was my first year. And then as I got once I became a senior, I averaged about 12 points there. It was always like 12, like 5 and 5, something like that. Because I do love to pass the ball, get my teammates involved. So, and then after that was Brazil. Yeah,
Brazil.
So it was 4 years at college, and then I came out, didn't really know where I was going to go, and then I was able to find an agent who got me into Brazil, and I was there for the first 2 years, and now I'm here in this gym talking to you. So
That's awesome.
Yeah.
A hell of a upbringing there.
Yeah.
So would you say your parents, are they athletes too, or like what drove you to keep doing basketball? Because some people, like, their parents shove it down their throat. They're like, I don't want to do that no more.
Right.
You know what I mean? So what is it for you?
No, yeah. So I come from like a military family. My dad was in the Coast Guard. So he wasn't necessarily like an athlete, a college athlete or anything like that, but it was just the discipline of whatever you're going to do, you need to stick to it and try to get the most out of it that you can. And then other than that, it was really my brother, my older brother. So he was 4 years older than me. Played in high school. It wasn't a big thing for him, but just played, was always very competitive. And he was like probably one of the best defenders that I played against while I was growing up. So he knew everything that I did because he pretty much like taught me my foundation. And so playing against him was like, yeah, it was hell, honestly. You know what I mean? And he's fouling me and stuff, and I can't complain about it. So I'm just fighting through that. So always playing with him and his friends. I was always 4 years younger than them, so always trying to prove myself. Right. That was pretty much what gave me my like fire to keep going and improve. So because I always had to try to, improve myself to be as good as the guys that are like 4 years older than me at all times. So.
Right. I always found it interesting that when it comes to like siblings who both play the same sport, they always say like the other one is like the better one, or like that's their toughest player they've ever played against. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think it's just because you grow up with that. It's that sibling rivalry. So even if, for example, like I've played against like guys that are better basketball players than my brother, right? But he's gonna play harder against me than anyone is. You know what I mean? And plus, he is a good defender. So him. We train together. He knows everything about my game. He knows what I'm thinking. And then so he can combat that and try to stop me. And, it wasn't until I got to, like, probably senior year of college where I was like, okay, like, might have to get some other people in here. Like, there's a couple of times. Because I remember it was always like, dang, he's strapping me, blah, blah, blah. And then we played pickup a couple of times, and I was like, I make a move, and I'm like, yeah.
I got him.
Yeah. It took a while for that, but it's still always tough every time we play against each other. So.
Right. Okay, so Brazil. You went down to Brazil. Was it a culture shock? Talk to me about like when you stepped off the plane.
Okay, so I studied Spanish in school.
Oh,
right.
Okay.
So I had a foundation of the language a little bit. But when I got there, I get on the plane. I land in Sao Paulo. That's that's not the capital, but it's like the New York, right? People outside of the U.S. think New York's the capital, but it's not. You know what I mean? So I landed there, and I'm thinking, okay, it's a big city. There's gonna be like English something. Nothing. Literally no English. Like it's an international airport, right? No type of English. Couldn't order. Couldn't do nothing. And like funny backstory. So I don't eat pork. My dad's 7-day Adventist. I don't eat pork. That's fine. Yeah. No. So I'm a Baptist, but I grew up in a household with my dad.
Because I'm Adventist.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's crazy.
Yeah. You never know the connection, right? So yeah. So I don't eat pork, and I get there and I'm like, yo, I don't know any of this. Like, I know some Spanish, but this is not the same at all, right? And so I'm like, okay, all I recognize is like Portuguese. That's like the word I'm reading. So I'm like, okay, I'll get a Portuguese.
literal word,
Yeah,
Portuguese.
I was like, okay, I'll get a Portuguese pizza. Like, that sounds like whatever. Ham, bacon, like the worst option I could have got.
The meats.
Right? And yeah, man. So that was like the first thing I realized where I was like, okay, I think I know some stuff, but I don't know anything. And then but then getting there, it was the city that I was in was real small. So it was definitely a culture shock because, again, no one there spoke any English, and it's just like, yo, you either learn or you don't, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I definitely had to learn the language there, and that's why, like, now I speak pretty well Portuguese.
Yeah.
And then as far
I feel like just from looking at you, like you could kind of fit in.
that's the thing that's weird, right? Like, so I got to the point where I was speaking, and some people would be like, "Oh, you're American?"
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? And it's just because, like, they see, it's just like that look, you know what I mean? Yeah. So that was funny, like trying to. I think there was a time where there was one of my teammates. His name is Pastor, and he speaks English very well. He's taught himself English and speaks fluently, pretty much. So one time I think like we went out, right, and we tried to flip the role and get people to believe that I was Brazilian and that he was American. So yeah, the thing is, it's just putting the effort in to learn the language is the biggest thing that I feel either helps you or holds you back, because when you're in a different country, you trying to learn the language shows a sort of respect for someone else's culture, right? If you're there and you're just like, yo, I don't, I don't care. Like, I speak English, then it's like, especially for us being like storytellers, right? I want to listen to other people's stories. I want to hear what you have to say. And if I can't learn some part of your language, there's always going to be a barrier. You know what I mean? So I feel like, anytime you spend in a different country, my first thing is learn the language before anything else.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So, you brought up the fact that we are both storytellers.
Okay.
And for those who don't know, Greg is also the founder of Greg Brown Media, which is
Funny to hear that.
which is his new production company where you're doing a lot of amazing stuff. So, talk about how you started that and what you really want to do with that.
Okay. It's funny how I started it. So I was always just into editing videos like as a hobby. So I was like, yo, this is pretty cool. So I started doing that, just editing like some highlight stuff. And then it was just always like something fun. Like I would learn how to do a quick like speed ramp or learn how to do some type of effect. Yeah, I was just always doing that. And then I got to Brazil and I was like, yo, I want to just start recording stuff like with my phone. And I did a lot. I did some like I vacationed in like Cancun. So I did some stuff like my nephew was in Cancun, recorded him like all the time. And then after my second year in Brazil, I got home and had some like downtime and put together the video for my nephew like a year ago that I had recorded like a year ago. And then I chopped that up and then put it out. And my sister-in-law actually like messaged me, was like, oh my God, like this made me like tear up. Like, yeah, she was like, he looks like he was so little, you know what I mean? And like, it kind of like hit me at that moment. I was like, yo, this like evokes emotions for people. You know what I mean? Like I always knew, I guess, but I didn't realize it until it was like someone in my family, it's my nephew. Like I'm watching this just like every time I see the video, I'm like happy. You know what I mean? So that was, I think that moment, shout out to Kai. Kai Brown. I think it was like that moment when I was like, yo, like this can do something. You know what I mean? So kind of started to focus that. And that was like, honestly, that was like 3 months ago. And then I started really focusing in, doing some of the basketball edits here with Jamal. And then I'm trying to think. Oh, and starting to like just meet people. Like that's how I met you, right? Just doing some of this stuff. And Now I'm kind of realizing with playing, I know I'm not going to be here all year. So I feel like my way to be able to continue learning and working on my skills is to do the vlog, right? And so the vlog is what I started to, one, practice for myself, but two, be able to spread a message and evoke that emotion, and use that to try to spread a message that I think is positive. Something that, look, man, like I've thought about my entire career playing basketball as like, there's something else that I need to focus on too. You know what I mean? And yeah, like I've always thought about that. Like, and I've dedicated myself to basketball. I remember being in college, first one in the gym, last one leaving. You know what I mean? But once I left, I went to go study, or I went to go do something for school, or something to know that, okay, maybe right now I'm not using it, but in the future it's going to be something that helps to set myself up past basketball. So that's what the whole vlog is about. Like, it's the idea that, as athletes we have a chance to work on something, and then as far as spreading a message, honestly, like I'll tell you, when I tell somebody in public like I play professional basketball, their eyes open up right away, right? And me personally, I don't think I'm not special at all. You know what I mean? Like there's nothing. I just try to work hard and do my best at whatever I'm doing. I don't think I'm special at all. But I do realize that sometimes when you have that, you do that profession, that platform, people listen. And I'm like, okay, well, if people are going to listen to me because of this, then I want to be able to spread a positive message, because there's a lot of trash out there. There's a lot of people talking negative and talking crazy. So why not try to use some skills that I have, which is basketball, which is video, to do something good. So, yeah.
That's awesome. That's really awesome, man. So for the company, what would you say the ultimate goal is? Like, do you want to produce like Greg Brown originals, or like what are we talking about here? Feature films, or?
Yeah, no. So it's funny. I have like some things in the background that I'm like waiting to develop right now.
Can't tell you yet.
Yeah. Can't tell everything, right? But no, my idea would to be able to just again use media as a way to show that, as athletes we can still do other things, right? So that's the premise of it. Okay. And then as far as like, do I want to do films? Do I want to do, stick with like short documentary type stuff? I don't really know yet. Right. I'm just starting, and I kind of just decided to jump in and kind of try a whole bunch of different things and see, which route it takes me. But I do want to have that base of just showing that, look, I started while I was playing. Like look at Kobe, look at LeBron, right? Obviously they're like way up here, right? And but they're kind of starting that trend of like, yo, you can play and still have a life off the court. You know what I mean? So that's really my passion with this, is showing something that, it's doable. It is.
That's awesome, man. You don't hear a lot of stories like that. So I'm very thankful that you came on the show.
Appreciate you having me.
And decided to talk about that. I was going to say, so when do you think you're leaving? Are there any talks yet, or do we know?
You know what's funny? That's actually hilarious. So today I am literally filming my vlog today about the idea that interest means nothing, right? Wow. So, and when I say interest, I mean team interest, right? Mm-hmm. So, or like maybe you're in high school and a college is like, oh, we're interested in you. Right. Or you're in college and now you just graduated and a team in Croatia is like, yo, we're interested. That's a good thing, because it shows like what level of people are looking at you, and they're, you're being seen. But at the end of the day, if you don't have that contract, it does not mean anything. You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, I think people don't realize that it is a business, right? And if a team wants you, they're going to offer you. Right? So if they have not offered you, what does that mean? They are waiting they're interested in you and him and that other guy over there, and they're just trying to see which one is the best fit, right? So, yeah, I have some interest right now, but I know that doesn't mean anything until I get the piece of paper, right? Yeah. So, I'm hoping, by like, hopefully like by the first week of November or whatever, but I can't predict anything.
This has been awesome. Thank you, sir.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, sir. And give everyone your social media and stuff.
Okay, so that's true. Let me
do you do you remember all your names and stuff, your handles?
Instagram is GregBrown_12, and then my media page is Greg Brown Media, and then YouTube, right, is, if you type in Greg Brown Media, you'll find it. I'm still trying to get the custom URL, but I need 100 followers, right? So 100 subscribers. So if y'all go subscribe me, I can go ahead and plug Greg Brown.
What are you at right now?
Like 67 or
Cause
something.
your first vlog video did really well.
Yeah, I think it's like at 500 now. I'm trying to see if I can get to 1,000. I just have to talk to enough people.
Or just watch it 500 times.
I could just watch it. Yeah, I definitely could. But yeah, that's that. And then I have I have a website, gregbrownmedia.com, that I'm like, I just released like the landing page today.
You did?
Yeah, got the. Yep, Squarespace.
Good,
now,
okay.
One day we'll get to the point where we can get a sponsored, video. Hey, go to Squarespace, blah blah blah. But yeah, so yeah, that's my stuff.
15% off. Type in Greg Brown Media.
Oh, or Free Alexander Media, right? Sooner or later. This is the one. That's the. Oh, I'll say the last thing is that it's just cool to be able to work with people like you and be able to kind of just like grow together. You know what I mean?
Right.
You know what I mean? Because
We're trying to figure it out.
Exactly.
That's it.
Exactly.
The grind is the best part,
It is.
I would say. So yeah, this was episode 2, I think. Episode 2, yeah. I am Ryan Gordon. You know where to find me. It's somewhere on the screen, and that's it. All right, bye.
All right. Cool, man. I'm trying to think.
Do you have your computer with you?
No, I don't have it with me.
Okay, because I was just gonna airdrop the hard drive.
I have because it's all at home. So that's the thing. I usually bring it, but since I should have brought it. I forgot.
That's all good.
Let me ask you this: you do have Adobe